Hi, this is Emily Ellithorpe, and in this professional development, I hope to teach you how to use formative assessment in your classroom to develop a learning orientation in your students. I created this Assignment 5 for the Assessment of Learning class at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, where I will be earning my Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction, K-12. These are the 5 most important things you should know about implementing effective assessment in your classroom based on my research during this course. The goal of this professional development experience is to help our students develop a learning orientation. This is different from an ego-involved orientation where students simply want to outperform their peers and achieve success with minimal effort, typically in the form of grades. It is also separate from task completion orientation. We all feel a sense of achievement when we get to strike a red line through an item on a long to-do list, but it doesn't contribute to meaning when applied in the classroom. Instead, a student with a learning orientation will find out what they don't know and master it. By doing so, they develop new skills and exemplify continuous improvement. People with learning orientations are motivated to achieve beyond a test, as the implicit excitement is about the learning itself, not how their high grades look to others or checking off a tick box. Keep this idea of a learning orientation in mind as I share with you 5 important things to remember when implementing effective assessment in your classroom. In order to track their learning, students must know where they are going, where they are right now, and how to close the gap between the two. The best examples of this can be found in the Universal by Design Framework by Grant Wiggins and Jay McTighe, included in the link here. Starting with Common Core State Standards, you should develop I can statements in student-friendly language. For example, the Massachusetts Common Core ELA standard for reading informational text states that students should be able to determine the meaning of general academic and domain-specific words or phrases in a text relevant to a grade 4 topic or subject area. I would rewrite this to say, I can determine the meaning of new words and phrases I read. Students will understand this definition much better, and therefore it will help them learn overall. Working with your grade level team, create I can statements for all state standards you teach. From here, you can design a continual progress report, like the one shown. Students keep track of their individual progress by shading their current summative score for each goal. All students should earn 3.0 by the end of the year, so there is no reason to concern if all they have in October is 1.5, for instance. Students will continue to grow and demonstrate their new skills and knowledge all year. As they earn higher grades, they can shade in more of the bars to represent this growth. An article on Scholastic's website by Judith Dodge stood out to me in stating that without time to reflect on and interact meaningfully with new information, students are unlikely to retain much of what is covered in their classrooms. This reflection is essential to helping students grow as learners. Students can keep track of their learning with a Google Sites portfolio. I have included my own example of a portfolio for your review. Of course, this will be modified for students. What's great about this resource is that it is free, will never get deleted, can be updated in real time, and is easy to share with families. The links to these portfolios should be sent directly to parents so that they can view updated material in real time throughout the year. I highly recommend that each teacher create a mock student portfolio to show to students before introducing the idea so that they know what it might look when it is finished. I say might because we should encourage creativity. It is, after all, their portfolio, not ours, so while they will all share required commonalities like titles, headings, and explanations of what they learned from the assignment, they will be unique in their design and layout. The most important feature of a portfolio is not simply the collection of the online content, but also the way they explain their learning from each assignment, as shown in my example. Students must demonstrate that they learned something new from each artifact they include, so that they become reflective learners, which brings them closer to developing a learning orientation. Students will self-assess each major assignment that they complete in class. They will be able to identify the standard they are working towards from the beginning and show their progress towards meeting the associated learning goals at any point in time. Knowing standards ahead of time means that they never have to guess. McTighe and Wiggins liken this to shooting arrows blindfolded, hoping one will hit the target. If students don't know where they are going, they will never get there. This video shows how you can make your own self-assessment online. You can insert open-ended questions for students to answer, such as, what did you like best about this assignment? And provide multiple choice options for other questions. After creating this self-assessment on Google Forms, link it to your Google Classroom for students to complete. It is a great starting step to use for all assignments, and then students can select which ones to put in their portfolio after. All the reflective work will be done in advance, so when it comes time to write about each artifact in the portfolio, they can look back at their self-assessment answers on this form. When implementing peer feedback in my 4th grade classroom, one thing I struggled with most was that no matter how many times my students practiced giving and receiving feedback, with a carefully designed checklist of talking points from me, it never felt beneficial. What I read by Shipley and Stiggins in 2017 could have really helped me out, so I'm excited to share this with you. As a team, teachers should develop videos of mock peer feedback showing both weak and strong examples of what to do. First off, students will love watching their teacher provide feedback to another colleague on his or her writing, especially feedback that's not very helpful. I'd recommend showing this video once straight through, and then a second time while pausing at various segments. Here, ask students to turn and talk about what is successful, as well as what criteria the peer reviewers could improve upon. You can display your class peer feedback checklist on the whiteboard so students can refer to it during the discussion. One class made videos showing what not to do and what's expected in peer review. While these videos are not high quality, they are engaging and informative because it was made by kids for kids. Once your class gets the hang of peer review, perhaps you could make your own YouTube videos to share with others. Rick Romelli has said that teachers spend more time on summative assessment, but formative assessment has the greatest impact on student achievement. We must include descriptive feedback to our students, rather than a letter grade. What exactly does a B mean in math anyway? This letter grade does not tell a student what or how to improve. Rather, formative assessment takes place in a feedback loop of instruction, assessment, feedback, take action, and more instruction on the same content if you need to reteach. Descriptive feedback is essential. We don't need to give a grade if there is a clear rubric with specific strengths and areas for improvement listed with formative assessment. Telling a student that they have great paragraph organization, but that the topic sentences are not supported by enough details gives them a direction. It states that they did one part well and tells how to improve for the next time you check in. Specifically state that the rubric requires 3 details per topic sentence and the student only included 2. The more focused the feedback, the more likely it is the student can apply it. Notice that I only gave 1 piece of feedback for them to improve this time. This student might have spelling errors, unclear topic sentences, and other flaws, but I selected just 1 focus so that they will experience success next time. I know that I'm guilty of assigning a summative assessment like a test in math, and rarely, if ever, returning to the same content. It is difficult to schedule review or extra opportunities to try again into our regular practices, especially when we remain mindful of pacing guides and report card deadlines. True learning, though, requires that we examine this deeper. We must build in opportunities for students to try again, given this feedback, or else our efforts are futile. Perhaps they can apply it in a future writing assignment to show they understood our feedback. Or you can have a student create their own project to demonstrate new knowledge. This takes some effort on the student's part to show initiative, but it will be well worth it with an improved grade and new learning. Our district has moved toward the current best practice of reporting student grades as whether they meet, exceed, or fall below the standard. This is a link to a sample 4th grade report card in our district, so you can see which standards you will need to score by the end of the year. A low score at the beginning of the year should not be punitive when determining a student's final grade, as long as the grades continue to improve. In fact, this highlights an area of strong growth and should be celebrated as such. Marzano lists ways that teachers can compute summative scores based on the formative assessments conducted throughout a unit. Specifically, if you're ever unsure what a student earned, ask them. You can ask what they think they deserve for a grade, and have them create a way to show you they know the content. If you'd like to read more, I recommend his text, Formative Assessment and Standards-Based Grading, in 2010. Along with students tracking their own learning with online portfolios, they can also be a major part of your conversation with parents regarding their progress at school. Because your students will have already set up their Google Sites portfolios, this is a great way for them to introduce it to their parents in person, to make sure parents understand that they always have access to their child's online portfolio. Have students each select 2 assignments that highlight a particular strength and let them show it to their parents on a Chromebook during the student-led conference. Here is a video of one elementary student leading a parent conference between his mom and his teacher. I like that this student was able to identify 2 behavior strengths, 2 academic strengths, 2 academic areas of improvement, a reflection on his learning goal progress thus far, and how he will continue to meet those goals. This is just one way of having students take ownership of their learning that can be quite effective. However, please note that some parents still wish to have one-on-one time with the teacher. Perhaps in a 15-minute conference, you can have the student in the room for the first 8 to 10 minutes, and if the parent requests it, the student may wait in the hall for the second part. Here are a few articles about successful student-led conferences for more information. Throughout this screencast, I referred to the following videos and articles. I hope you experience success when implementing my tips for effective classroom assessment.